Hello, and welcome back to the All Out Soccer podcast. Myself, Jeremy Goldstein, and my co-host, Joseph McBride, we're two football fans talking about soccer. We focus on a fusion of the MLS, the US men's and women's soccer teams, and the build-up to the 2026 World Cup. Joe, how are we doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very excited for the MLS Playoffs to be here. One more week of action, but almost there, around the corner.
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of teams have cases for the best team in the MLS, but we won't really know until the playoffs, which also you could argue don't really determine who the best team in the MLS is. They just determine who has the best medal and who is the most fortunate on a given day. Or in my opinion, that's how I feel about the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where it's crunch time. It's where it's like they're all knockout games. So, the most mentally strong, the most physically strong roster is one that's going to prevail. Obviously, the point system is something we use in Europe and what I'm used to, but I love the excitement of the playoffs. It brings the best out of every team and the worst sometimes.
It's certainly chaotic. I'll never forget the 2016 MLS Cup final where Seattle beat Toronto and had no business winning that game at all. But that's what happens in a one-game winner takes all. All right.
Thanks for bringing
Not a long intro. We're going to chat about the Union winning the Supporters' Shield. We're going to talk about a pair of key retirements in the form of Jordi Alba and Darlington Nagbe. We're going to discuss the outlooks atop both the Eastern and Western conferences with just a week to go in the MLS season. We'll provide our normal quick U.S. men's national team roundup and a look at some World Cup bits and bops, as well as some comments from Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Columbus Crew, about the future of the MLS. Without further ado, we talked about the playoffs earlier. Now, let's talk about the regular season. And the best team in the regular season from a points perspective was the Philadelphia Union for the first time since 2020. Joe, what should we know about the Union this season?
They've just been amazing. The only team with 20 wins now, which is a massive improvement from last year. But it was a bit of a shaky performance on Saturday, but they got the job done. They needed to win the Supporters' Shield, no matter what happens next week in the final day of the regular season. It is now done, and that's exactly what they did. Mikel Ure scored the only goal of the game on the 40th minute. Very nervy, though. They got dominated by New York City in the last 20 minutes. You could feel the tension inside the stadium. You could feel the players and the coaches on the sidelines just wishing for that final whistle to blow, and it finally did. And I have no affiliation to the Philadelphia Union. I think they're an amazing team to watch, really exciting, great young players too, and just great MLS standard players too as well. But I was really happy for them when that final whistle blew. You could feel the relief everywhere. The fans were celebrating, hugging. And as you said, in 2020, when they won that Supporters' Shield for the first time in franchise history, they obviously only formed in 2008. It was during the lockdown. There was no fans there to witness it. So all of those fans that have been going all of those years have been denied that celebration. So for them to finally have it, I thought was really nice. And, to speak about other events in Philadelphia in the same day, the Philadelphia Phillies lost in the MLB playoffs to the Los Angeles Dodgers that same night. Thousands and thousands of fans were there at Citizens Bank Park to watch that one. So the remaining core soccer fans were all inside Subaru Park to watch Philadelphia. So I was really, really happy for them to experience that moment. They deserve it. And manager Bradley Carnell said at the end of the game, this is just the start. So he's clearly happy that they've won, but he wants them to go all the way and do the MLS Cup now too.
Yeah, he had a tough task replacing Jim Curtin, the longtime manager there. Also, injuries in recent weeks with Quinn Sullivan. They've had a ton of chopping and changing up front. Diamini, the Uruguayan, has come in and he's looked great. Ty Baribo, who's started the season as the greatest goal scorer of all time. He's been in and out of the lineup. And they sold, of course, Daniel Gazdag, their longtime, best forward for a number of years to the Columbus Crew. And it still hasn't mattered. Brilliant attack. What a team. For the Supporters' Shield, does it matter is a question that often looms in the conversation of the MLS. The 2024 winners were Inter Miami. They were shocked in the first round to Atlanta. 2023, FC Cincinnati. They lost heartbreakingly to Columbus in the conference finals. The last team to win the MLS Cup, who also won the Supporters' Shield, were with LAFC in 2022, obviously thanks to Gareth Bale's heroics late in the MLS Cup final. It's no guarantee of anything. Only 8 times in 29 years has a team won the Supporters' Shield. Also went on to win the MLS Cup. Look, it's better to be the best team. It's better to collect the most points. Obviously, it helps from a seeding point of view. It helps from where games are going to be played in the playoffs. But often over the course of a season, there's so many variables that come into play where you gain 2 points here, you lose 5 points there, whatever it may be. That doesn't exactly delineate who the best team in the league is. And as you can tell, atop the Eastern Conference and the MLS in general, it's very, very clustered. I think at least 4 or 5 teams have a claim to the best in the MLS, but the Union were the ones who weren't just the paper tigers. They got it done on the pitch. So all credit to them. But I don't think this means anything except the fact that they'll have a slightly cushier run to the MLS Cup finals.
Yeah, I mean, you get a shield for it. It's a trophy. It's an honor at the end of the day, so it can't be, ignored. But at the same time, yeah, it is just a seeding thing, and the prized honor, the crown jewel, is that MLS Cup, which they'll obviously be going for. But history isn't really on their side.
I don't think when we reflect on Lionel Messi's tenure in the MLS, many are going to harp on his 2024 Supporters Shield win. Or do you think they are?
No, absolutely not. I mean, obviously they were the best team points wise, but as you said, their early exit kind of, it questions the legitimacy of it, but it's still a massive honor and a massive achievement, over those 34 games to be the best team in the nation. So yeah, a really, really good start, but as a lot of the coaches are saying and PR training, all the rest of it is true. The hard work does start now.
Yeah. And speaking of Inter Miami, they're 7 points behind Philadelphia. Philadelphia, obviously, with 66 points in 33 games. Inter Miami with 59 and 32 after their big 4-1 win over the New England Revolution. Then we get the news today, Tuesday, that left back Jordi Alba, who scored twice over the weekend, will be retiring after the season. 715 appearances for Alba at club level, including 95 for Miami, 14 goals in total since moving to the MLS side, 2 over the weekend. The first one was, the Messi assist. Oh my God, looked like 2015 Messi against Bilbao, squared it to Alba, who kind of scuffed it but managed to score. His second one, really also bizarre. It was an accidental nutmeg, but it was a beautiful finish into the New England goal. Miami are now in talks to bring Sergio Reguilon in as a replacement. He is also in talks with an Iranian side who are offering apparently a €4 million contract, but his sights are set on Miami exclusively. I'm going to assume, unless Miami continues to pull some, tomfoolery, that he's going to take up the designated player slot occupied by Alba. Is that the best use of resources? I don't know, but that's what they're going for. Anyway, Miami, all their chips are to the table for this season, and let's see if they can finally get that MLS Cup. Joe, also Darlington.
Yeah,
Nagbe,
I definitely wouldn't be using a DP slot on Reguilon. He's a talented player. He's playing for Madrid.
Joe?
Your connection went again.
Was it mine or yours? Because I lost you at about 7:55. You stopped for me. But my internet continued to work.
Well, I'm looking at you in about 3 megapixels at the moment.
Currently? You're in HD on mine. I fear that's your internet because I can see you perfectly fine. Are others can you just test your internet? Oh, actually, my internet's fine.
Yours does it. I know, in and out, but
yeah, mine's being a little laggy. I've noticed actually right now. I don't understand. I'm sitting in one.
You basically got right to the end of it.
Say it again.
You basically got right to the end of the Alba bit, just at the start of early 8 minutes, and then you went, and I went to try and cut in and say I wouldn't use a DB spot on Reguilon, and then you came through again and said about Darlington Nagbe. So I've got no idea what happened there.
I couldn't hear you speaking, so I thought you were waiting for me to say something, so I said that. Anyway,
I don't know. Just
maybe I have it flagged at 7:55 where there were issues. Maybe you pick off. Oh, I'll start. I'll pass it on to you. Zoom at 10:30, and you start talking about Nagbe. Is that okay? I know I hate to make you redo that bit, but all right. So at 10:30, I'm going to
Yeah,
say
that's fine. You're basically at the end of it.
it's fine. All right, and go. And Joe, Darlington Nagbe as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not as much of a kind of worldwide soccer icon that Alba is, but in terms of US soccer and MLS, he is a legend and that really is like the highest honor I can give him. It's just an incredible player. The longevity that this guy has shown since he came into the league. Just as a reminder for this guy, he's won 4 MLS Cups at 3 different franchises. The 2 Cups coming at the Columbus Crew, and they're on the verge of making the playoffs again and maybe doing a late run, who knows. But yeah, it's sad to see him go. He was picked in the first round of the 2011 MLS Super Draft after winning the Herman Trophy, which is the college version of the Heisman Trophy. He was the best player that year. He also won the national championship that year, which massively helped his case. But since then, he's come to the MLS and spent his whole career in North America. 444 MLS appearances, 38 MLS goals, and 2 of those goals were crowned MLS Goal of the Year in 2011 and 2020, respectively. Started off at Portland, went to Atlanta, is at Columbus now, and will finish his career in Columbus with the Crew. On top of the 4 MLS Cups, he won a Leagues Cup with Columbus. He's even won the Gold Cup with the US men's national team. He had a 3-year stint on the national team. You know, other than the World Cup with the States, or the Copa America, even like this guy has won everything. An absolute blessing to have him in MLS for so long. He'll be sadly missed, but I'm sure with his profile and his popularity, he'll still be very much around the league.
Absolutely. What a fixture of the league for many, many years. That will bring my attention to the Crew, who are fighting who have made the MLS playoffs, but are fighting for key positioning at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Just to clarify, seeds 1 through 7 in each conference are automatically through to the first round, and then the 8 and 9 seeds are into a wild card. So currently in the 8-9 spot in the Eastern Conference is Chicago on 52 points, and behind them is Columbus on 51. The points tallies are way, way higher in the East than they are in the West. Ahead of Chicago is Orlando in 7th with 53 points through 32 games played, so they have that game in hand. Safe to say they'll probably get enough points with the point cushion and the game in hand. And then Nashville, I mean, again, who could lose and then see a poor results otherwise go against them? They're on 54 points through 33. And just to look ahead at fixtures, Columbus will be hosting the eliminated New York Red Bulls this weekend. Chicago are traveling to the eliminated New England Revolution. So there could be some drama on the last day. Orlando, it's a shame they're down here. They've kind of sleptwalked in recent weeks. Nashville had that stretch of a couple straight losses earlier in the year, a few weeks ago as well, to kind of sink further down the table. And just to reiterate, the top 5 in the East: Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Inter Miami, Charlotte, who I don't think are very good, but they're in 4th, and then New York City FC in 5th. It's a much better conference than the West, who I do think has some very good teams, but that meet in the middle is not nearly as strong.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the Eastern, Philadelphia winning the conference and the top 9 are decided. I know the places can, change about on the final day, but heading into the final weekend, the West is really, anything could happen. There's still a 4-way battle for the number 1 seed there. Vancouver Whitecaps hold the power at the moment. They have 2 games in hand, so providing they win those, they'll have more points than everyone else. They face Orlando and Dallas in their final 2 games. LAFC has made a really late charge, and they still might get there. They could finish on 65 points. They still have 3 games to go against Toronto, Austin, and Colorado. So they could be up there, and the run they're on, I won't be surprised if they won all of them. Minnesota has a bit of an outside chance. They're 2 points off the top spot with just 1 game to go. They need to be LA Galaxy, which this season is very possible for them to do that. And San Diego is still clinging on some hope too. They can finish on a maximum of 63 points. They face Portland on the road as their final game this season. But in terms of the, 8th and 9th spot, the last 2, there are still 2 teams just outside it that can still spring up into those places. That being, Colorado and San Jose. Currently in those 8th and 9th spots at the moment are FC Dallas and Real Salt Lake. Dallas play LA Galaxy in their next game, which could cement their place, but they also face Vancouver on the final day of the season. And if they're going for that, top spot in the West, that could be very interesting. Real Salt Lake plays Seattle, who are playing very, very nice stuff at the moment, and St. Louis, not the best of seasons from them. Colorado face LAFC, as said, and they'll be going for it too. San Jose with their last test against Austin. But in terms of the standings right now, San Diego is top, but with 1 game to go. Vancouver is second, but with 2 games to play and could jump above them. Minnesota in third. Los Angeles FC in fourth. Then Seattle, Austin, and Portland make up the top 7. And Dallas and Real Salt Lake in 8th and 9th. So very, very interesting one, and definitely the conference to watch heading into the last day.
Yeah, it's a shame about San Jose, the 4th highest scoring team in the conference, but marooned in 11th place. Obviously, one of the worst defenses in the MLS by a lot, kind of clumped in that pack with like the worst teams in the league. They've lost 4 out of 5, so it looks like their playoff hopes are over. But a team full of exciting attacking talent, and hopefully they're back next year. Joe, that brings me to our final question ahead of the break. Biggest MLS surprise of the season? Which team is just, obviously we made those both horrible picks by the two of us ahead of the year. I picked St. Louis. You picked Atlanta. Didn't work out well. Who has been the team that we should have picked for that one?
Should have picked, I don't think so. It's just because obviously I was shocked by this. There's obviously loads of teams you could have picked, but one team that really did surprise me was the Chicago Fire. They only had 7 wins last season and were rock bottom of the Eastern Conference. They've had a complete turnaround under Greg Berhalter, who himself was facing quite a lot of pressure, and obviously being out as US head coach and had a lot to prove. And if he'd have failed in his first gig back in MLS, it could have been quite costly for his personal reputation. But he's really turned that team around. Obviously, they're right on the edge, and it looks like they're going to have to do a play-in game unless they can jump up into the top 7. But they've had 15 wins, this season. So over double what they achieved last year, and they've got in there, and I expect them to struggle, but they look really good.
That's a fine pick. I think you've overthought this. I think the answer is San Diego. Come on. They're like one of the best. We were talking earlier in the year about, can they make the playoffs? Can they make the playoffs? This is the team that can they win the whole thing? Irving Lozano, barring a little injury blip, has been very, very good. Anders Dreyer has been one of the best players in the league. Yepi Zverkov, their captain, has been one of the most all-around midfielders in the MLS this season. What a great job of roster construction. And it just shows that in any level, any league, there are teams doing this all around the world in all different types of leagues. Sunderland just did this in the Premier League, where they bought an entirely different team to help them stay up in the Premier League, and they're off to a good start. Wrexham in the English Championship have bought an entirely different team, and they look fairly competent in that division. And San Diego literally have bought a full team, and they are very, very good. This just shows the importance of a strong front office and a strong recruitment method. So really hats off to San Diego. Just what a wonderful story.
That was my pick for the West. I will just say my reason for giving Chicago a bit of praise was just because it was based off last season and previous record. Why I wanted to give it to them. Obviously, San Diego was a completely clean slate, and we didn't know what to expect. They have surprised me 100% in terms of where they are. We thought, if they make the playoffs, that would be a success. But wow, they might even win the whole conference. So we'll see. And to have an MVP candidate in your first season as an MLS team is quite something.
Yeah, it's a job well done. Hey, if you want to get involved in the conversation, shoot us an email at jeremy.goldstein@reachplc.com. Please engage by subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a like while you're at it. That's the end of part 1 of this week's All Out Soccer, but stick around for part 2 just after this break. All right, Joe, we're back. Before we get into some bits and bobs, let's talk about some U.S. men's national team players. My pick of the weekend was Tyler Adams, and I'm sure you'll get us started with some other notes from the Premier League and in England.
Of course, I'm wearing the 3 Lions this week, repping it for this part of the section, of course. Tyler Adams played in a 3-1 win over Fulham. Looked great. Didn't play the whole 90 minutes this time, but it was an amazing turnaround for them. They're looking like such a strong team for a team that lost so many players over the summer. It's very impressive. But like I keep saying, I think Adams is a really key part of that. And he's not as underrated as he was, but I think he went under the radar, especially last season, for how influential he was. A bit of a concern for me is that the team that were playing, Fulham, had Anthony Robinson on the bench. Didn't come on at all. I know he's still working his way back from injury, but Ryan Sessegnon scored during the game, and he's been playing ahead of him. And he doesn't look like he's going to lose his place right now. So, in a key year and Robinson's been injured and coming back, at the moment, there's no reason to put him back in the lineup unless it's for 20, 30 minutes or a cup game. So that's definitely one to watch, especially as we head towards January, but I'm sure he'll be back in there because he's a great player. But on more positive news, Patrick Agyemang scored his first goal for Derby County in a 1-1 draw with Southampton. He's already got 2 assists on the year, but he finally got that first goal against a promotion candidate as well. And Derby have been struggling, so really, really big goal for them. Haji Wright scored in a 5-0 win for Coventry, who keep scoring so many goals against Sheffield Wednesday. He is now the top scorer in the Championship. Another quiet week for Josh Sargent, but Haji Wright is definitely up there. And Brendan Aronson has been a mainstay now in the Leeds United squad. He started for the 4th game in a row the weekend. They lost 2-1 to Tottenham, but he's very much in favour under Daniel Farke.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see what Haji Wright is doing. We're going to have, I'm sure, many, many conversations this winter about where he stands in the striker hierarchy, but really, really exciting to see. I will say it was not a great weekend across Europe for the U.S. men's national team. And we're going to start in Italy, where Weston McKennie's Juventus played out a 0-0 draw against Christian Pulisic's AC Milan. McKennie went the full 90, starting in central midfield. Again, he has been used in a variety of positions this season, but it's good to see him in midfield. Exciting stuff. Did he have the best game? No, he did not. But I think the more important thing this part of the season is he's getting that playing time. He's being recognized by his coach. Christian Pulisic missed a penalty that would have set Milan up 1-0. He was subbed in the 74th minute. He still has not played a full game yet this season for Milan, among lingering fitness concerns. So that's just one to monitor. But again, he's been relatively strong when he has played. Not too much else to report. Serginho Dest was back in the lineup for PSV, who were 4-0 winners in the Eredivisie. Ricardo Pepe is still missing out. Over in France, Timothy Weah started. Tanner Tessman started. He's been, I would say, the breakout U.S. men's national team player of the season. Just an early shout on that. Florian Balogun appeared for Monaco off the bench. Those are really the only big things to report. We don't have any fun goal scorers like last week with Zendejas or anything super interesting. But again, down week for the U.S. men's national team, in my opinion, across the continent. But we'll see how that looks going forward. Moving into some news. We're going to start with a bit about the Columbus Crew owner, Jimmy Haslam, speaking about Apple. Joe, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, he was just saying about the growth of MLS in terms of being on television and the Apple TV deal. He just said we have a long way to go. The Premier League on Saturday mornings is a really good draw in the United States. For those that don't know, that's usually on USA Network or on Peacock. But he said we still have a long way to go and get people to watch our product on TV, which is where the true value is created. He then went on to say that the NFL contract, as he's also owner of the Browns, pays $420 million a year, while the MLS team pays $4 million. Now, obviously, in that regard, the NFL is a completely different entity compared to the MLS. So the financial figures, as much as it's a massive divide and a massive difference, a kind of understanding. But I really do back his view on the TV. I think we've mentioned it in this podcast already some weeks or months ago. First of all, I just want to say I think the Apple TV product is really good. I love MLS Season Pass. I think the whole platform is really, really slick, very, very user-friendly, and I love watching it every week. But in terms of attracting the audience that US soccer is desperate for, the MLS is desperate for, it's just not the best way to go about it. Streaming platforms are becoming a thing of modern day. That's where everything's going. I understand that. And there are very successful platforms in terms of specific leagues and sports that do really well, but they've already created that community and that want. And it feels like MLS is still very much growing, and people that aren't massive soccer fans that want to get into it, the best way to do that is by putting it on, a Fox or something, or a national TV station where you're going to be drawn to watch it, or you might give it a go. As soon as you put something and incredibly just messy behind a paywall, and you've got to go out of your way and spend money to see that product and give it a go, it's just very unlikely. So I do think that long term they need to put it elsewhere. But my criticism isn't with the product; it's just maybe with the placement.
I completely agree. If Apple was somehow also either a free to air like cable station, like a satellite station, or excuse me, like a linear station, kind of like in the CBS, NBC world, fine, where you can also put 1 or 2 match days a week. That's free to air on that. And then there's a further subscription paywall platform in accompaniment. That's fine because then fans are still getting a taste of the biggest matches of the week and then can venture elsewhere so the MLS can make further money. That option doesn't exist. It's all behind a paywall. There's no option of it on public television. And I think that's the thing that's the biggest shame because if Messi's in America, that game should be on television every week at whether it's on the Saturday evening, Saturday late afternoon slot, whether that's the Sunday primetime slot, especially over the summer. That would have been a massive, massive opportunity. I would have liked to have seen some public-private partnership from Apple with a CBS, with an NBC, with a Fox, with whomever, to have made that work. Obviously, that's so complicated because CBS are in bed with the Champions League, NBC is in bed with the Premier League, and all sorts of other rivalries. That's the one change I would have called for from a television point of view. I understand you accept this massive Apple deal. It's cash in hand, guaranteed. I just wish it was sprinkled with a little more free to air.
Yeah, and there's actually a luxury over here in terms of the Premier League in particular. All of those games that you see available at 10 a.m. or just any game, you can watch any of them as long as you have the means to do so. In England, you can't do that. They have a game very occasionally on a Friday night. They have one at Saturday lunchtime, one Saturday evening, and then Super Sunday, where they have a couple of games. But in terms of those 10 a.m. ones or 3 p.m. local time back home, they're not even accessible. It doesn't have to be every game. So yeah, if they'd have had the majority of the action on season pass, and then, like you said, that Saturday night or that Sunday night on TV, that would have been great. Obviously, it's difficult because of so many sports leagues, NFL Sunday, college football Saturday, and so forth. But there's definitely a way around it.
Yeah, the summer, in my opinion, would have been the time to capitalize on that. But that's a conversation I'm sure the league is having internally. We're not the first people to have thought of this. That is just something to monitor going forward. Also to note, the Premier League often has. In the United States, NBC will air the game on NBC as opposed to USA Network. Obviously, USA Network part of just a general cable package, but the game at 12:30 in the United States is often on just NBC proper, and that gives people in all parts of the world, all parts of the country who just have an antenna, a chance to watch those games. It's going to be interesting to see what the MLS does to expand. Obviously, they have the biggest marketing boost in the history of marketing boosts with the World Cup next summer. Let's see how they take advantage. Speaking of domestic football, we're going to talk about La Liga. Why do we talking about La Liga? We don't talk about La Liga because La Liga is coming to America. Villarreal versus Barcelona will be played in Florida in late December. We were talking about this a few months ago. I said it speculatively. I didn't think this was going to happen this soon. Here we are.
It's just, I don't know if you want to be the one to go through the statement, but it's just, I'm shocked, but also not that we've got to this point, if that makes sense. Like, as soon as the reports were coming out, and La Liga, by the way, have been trying to play a game in the United States since 2017. So this isn't just an overnight thing in terms of this game, but they've been pushing for this for a long time. They've had their financial troubles, especially Barcelona, which is one of the reasons that Lionel Messi left in the first place. But it's just, it hasn't gone down well. And I don't know if you want me to read it or if you have the statement ready, but they've essentially used it as a way to say, we didn't want to do this. This was the last resort. This is an exception that we're going to make. But all of the reasons that they gave as to why they were skeptical of it make it even more confusing to me as to why they've approved it. I'm not sure what you think of that.
I get the skepticism, but yeah, does UEFA really have any swing in this if this decision is made? Like, not really, right?
Well, that's the thing. UEFA is the governing body of the European soccer. We haven't even gone to the other game, but they've essentially said that we understand the backlash. This was really, we were reluctant to do it. Is the key word. Yeah. And they've even said the FIFA framework is not clear and detailed enough. So I'm really confused as to why it's got to this point. But anyway, I'll let you carry on. But I'm really torn on it from a moral, but also just way of the world standpoint, if that makes sense.
No, I'm completely in agreement. I saw a quote from Marco van Basten. He said, "Why on earth is Villarreal versus Barcelona being played in the US? This is a comedy show. It's completely ridiculous, and it's cheating. By the way, for me, this translates to the complete bankruptcy of La Liga," which is true. La Liga is needing the cash, and that's why they're making these moves. Syria, obviously, the other league making this decision. The Premier League, as of now, has I think stated they have no interest in playing games abroad, which good for them. Obviously, they have a little less issue bringing in cash to their league through a series of shrewd international television deals over the last 2 decades. This is all about money. This is a way to make money. America is an untapped market. They're getting in ahead of the 2026 World Cup. From a business point of view, I totally commend them. It is a great, great move. Obviously, Barcelona in Florida, where there already are a few ex-Barcelona players running around, is a tremendous move, and it's a real game. It's not a friendly. It's a real game, and fans will be there taking it seriously, as opposed to these games that we usually get in America where it doesn't matter. This is a real game. It's just going to be Americanified and bizarre and stupid, and there's going to be a halftime show, and the players are going to be standing around being cold, and it's just going to be weird. I'm really, really it really just angers me, makes me sad, but I don't really think there's anything anyone can do. This is the way the sport's going, and we're going to blink, and in 5 years, it's going to be as common as the NFL playing games abroad, and it's just not going to be a big deal, and it's going to be lauded as kind of somehow as diversity and the sharing of sport, when that's not what this is at all.
Yeah, well, that leads me on to the point I was going to make. To be honest, like I'm annoyed. It's not my team, it's not my league, but in terms of a European kind of community, in terms of soccer, it's going to impact everyone, I think. It's a shame that it's got to this point. And at the same time, we've played friendly games abroad. Even in Spain, they've had Super Cups played in Saudi Arabia and so forth. But the fact it being a regular season La Liga game and taking it away from the home fans and just moving the whole environment is odd. But the statement has annoyed me the most, just because they've essentially tried to say it's not our fault, this won't happen again, it's an exception that's gone too far. But it won't, because once you open that door, it's very difficult to close it again. And there's going to be so many other teams trying to pounce on this. And I think I'm not sure if I believe what they're claiming. I think this is just a sign of what's to come. But the thing that I wrestle with internally is in London, in Dublin now, in Spain soon, funny enough as well, they're getting that too, in Berlin, I love the fact that the NFL's come and they're regular season games, and that's denied season ticket holders a game. But when it came, it felt like the best thing in the world for me. Like, wow, it's on our doorstep. I can experience this. And, I felt for the fans in America that had lost it, but, it's our game too. So it's a difficult one for me because of the traditions and the whole history of European soccer and how it's meant to be. But then again, on the other side, I've experienced the benefits from the different market. So it's just a bit of an awkward one for me. I don't like it, and I just think it's what's to come. And I kind of fear for modern soccer as a whole. I think most European soccer fans would tell you that compared to maybe 10 or 20 years ago, they're not as emotionally invested in the game anymore, because it's not so much about passion and hunger and being united. It's more about business. But that's the way it's going. So it's going to happen. It's inevitable. We'll see how the actual finished game turns out. But I feel like I'm a hypocrite if I go too negative against it, seeing as I'm here in America.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But this is not the same. The schedules in Europe are so much more uniform. They're so diligent. They're so home and away fixture against each team in the league every year, season on season. And this spits in the face of that model. The last point I'll make is tying back to our point talking about Jimmy Haslam. This spits in the face of the MLS. This is saying we're going to bring our league to your country because our league is more cared about in your country than your league. What are you going to do about it? And it is going to be more popular than the MLS. There's going to be far more attention on this Barcelona game in the United States than there will be on the MLS Cup final. That's just how it's going to be. And I'm worried about that precedent of we can just come into America and one up your league that is growing and has great players in it, but we can just come and one up you just because, and we can make more money than you doing it too. And I wonder what precedent that will set going forward as well.
Really good point. That I hadn't even considered that. So, I thought being positive, it might even boost the interest in soccer when they see these players, and then they go and maybe invest time into their other teams. But no, I don't think so. It'll be kind of waiting for that next game that will come in the next year or the year after. For example, seeing Barcelona is no matter who you are, if you're interested in soccer, that's on your bucket list. So that's going to take precedent and will be publicized more than the MLS Cup final.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about this when this comes to light in December, but just, something to monitor for all American soccer fans going forward. That just about wraps it up for this week's All Out Soccer. He's been Joe McBride. I've been Jeremy Goldstein. And we hope you can join us again on the next episode of All Out Soccer, or as Thomas Muller would say, Auf Wiedersehen.